Dear student, welcome back again in our today's session. So, as you can see that today I am going to discuss about on the topic judgment sampling. In my previous lecture, I have already spoke about on the concept of sampling and the different types of sample. And in this lecture, I am going to discuss in detail about the judgment sampling. So without further ado, let's start our today's topic. So as you can see that first we will understand the concept of judgment sampling. Basically, we talk about the judgment sampling. This involves the students and selection of a group from the population on the basis of available information, assuming as if they are representative of the entire population. And here group may be also be selected on the basis of intuition or on the basis of the criteria deemed to be self. And generally, investigators should take the judgment sample. So this sampling is a highly risky. So in simple terms, we can understand the judgment sampling. Basically, judgment sampling, also called purposive or subjective sampling. It is a non-probability sampling method where the researchers handpick participants based on their knowledge, experience, or understanding of the topic. The selection is not random. Instead, it is made based on the criteria deemed significant of the study. And this method assumes that the chosen sample will adequately represent the larger population even though it is not selected through the random process. So in simple terms, we can understand about the sampling, judgment sampling. Basically, if we talk about the process of selection, so in this judgment sampling, the researcher actively select the participants who they believe are best suited to the provided need information. This selection is a deliberate and based on the researcher's understanding of the population. For example, if a study is being conducted to understand the perspective of business leaders, the researcher might choose only the senior executives with extensive industry experience. The idea is to gather the insight from those with the most relevant knowledge, assuming their views will mirror the larger group of business leaders. So while the selection is targeted and purposeful, it is inherently subjective as it relies on the researcher's judgment rather than the random or systematic approach. So the selection process is just been under the judgment sampling often relies on the researcher's intuitions and prior knowledge about the population. In some cases, the criteria for selection may not be clearly defined, but based on the researcher's belief that the certain characteristics such as age, education, or professions will best reflect the population. For instance, in a study exploring the consumer behavior, an investigator might focus on the middle-aged consumers with disposable income, assuming they are more likely to engage in a certain purchasing habit. And this intuitive approach allows the researchers to zero in on individuals who they believe will provide the most relevant and insightful information, but it is also introduce the risk of biasness. And if we talk about the examples, so judgment sampling is often used in situations where the specific expertise or experience are critical and very essential. For example, in a study of elite athletes, a researcher might select the Olympic athletes, assuming their experience are indicative of the broader population of the top level athletes. And similarly, in potential and a political research, a journalist might interview the high profile leaders and high profile politicians background and analyze the believing their opinion and reflect the wider political trends. These examples illustrate how the researcher judgment determine the selection of participants, focusing on individuals who are seen as a particularly knowledgeable or representative of the subject under the study. And however, these assumptions may not always hold true, and our selected sample might not fully capture the diversity of opinions or experiences in the broader population. So this is the concept of judgment sampling. So after discussing about the judgment sampling, let's understand the few merits of judgment sampling. So if we talk about the merits of judgment sampling, so as you can see that the first one is effective use of knowledge. Judgment sampling allows the researchers to effectively leverage their expertise when selecting participants in studies requiring a specialized knowledge. This type of method ensures that only those with relevant experience are included. For example, a researcher studying a rare disease might use the judgment sampling to select only those doctors who specialize in their condition, ensuring that the data gathered in a highly relevant. This ability to focus on knowledgeable individuals make the judgment sampling particularly useful in a field where the expertise is a key factors in the quality of the research. Now, second one is economical. And this method is also more economical than the random sampling because the researcher targets a specific group rather than a broad population. Less time, effort, and resources are needed to gather the data. For instance, in a study exploring a technological trends in a automotive industry, the researcher might choose a handful or industry leaders rather than the conducting a widespread random sample. And this target approach reduces the cost associated with the data collection, especially in a large or diverse population. So let's once again understand the merits of judgment sampling. As you can see that the first one is knowledge of investigator can be best used in the techniques of sampling, and the second one is the method of sampling is economical in this method. Now, after discussing about the merits of judgment sampling, let's understand the demerits of judgment sampling. So as you can see that the first point is about the demerits of judgment sampling. So the first one is subjectivity and bias. The subjective nature of the judgment sampling is one of its biggest drawbacks. The researcher's personal bias can heavily influence the selection of participants, leading to a sample that doesn't accurately represent the population. For example, if a researcher favors a particular subgroup, they may be consciously or unconsciously select the individuals who align with their preconceptions and skewing the result. The lack of randomness means that the findings may be more reflective of the researcher's biasness than the actual population, limiting the validity of the study. Now, the second one is errors in judgment. So, if we talk about the errors in judgment, so since the selection process relies on the researcher's judgment, there is a high risk of errors. The researcher may mistakenly assume that certain individuals or groups are representative of the population, when in reality they are not. This can lead to a sample that fails to capture the full diversity or opinions or experience within the population. For instance, a study on consumer behavior might overlook the certain demographic groups if the researcher believes only one group is relevant, leading to incomplete or inaccurate conclusions. Now, the third one is uncontrolled variation. If we talk about the uncontrolled variables, so another issues with judgment sampling is that it doesn't control for variation. Within the population, since the sample is not randomly selected, certain subgroups or perspectives may be entirely missed. For example, in a study on political opinions, if the researchers only select the individuals from one geographical region, they may overlook the diversity of political views present in other areas. And this lack of control over the variation can limit the scope of finding and reduce the overall representativeness of the sample. Now, the fourth one is limitation in generalization. If we talk about the limitation in generalization, that means judgment sampling is not suitable for research that requires a generalization to the broader population. Because the sample is not randomly selected, inferential statistics, which are not used to draw general conclusions about the population, cannot be applied. For instance, while judgment sampling might prove the useful insight into the opinions of a specific group, such as our industry experts, and these findings cannot be generalized to the broader population with a higher degree of confidence. So, this limit of the applicability of the research, especially in the field of findings and the conclusions, and students that aim to draw a broad generalization of the conclusions. So overall, we can say that about the judgment sampling. So it can be an effective tool when time, cost, and need for the specific expertise are critical consideration. It is a particularly useful in exploratory research and when researchers need to gather insight from a focused, knowledgeable group. However, it is important to recognize its limitations, especially regarding the biasness, subjectivity, and the inability to generalize findings. When the researcher must use the judgment sampling and ensuring that the potential for bias is minimized and that the sample through the random still capture the diversity of the population to the best extent possible. So in this way, we can say that about the judgment sampling. It's a very important and very essential methods to collect the data from the specific group. So this is all about the judgment sampling. I have already discussed about the concept and the merits and demerits of the judgment sampling. And this is all about judgment sampling. So thank you very much.